Good day, paranormal community, and thank you for partaking in this latest episode of the Odyssey Files. I'm your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, as always, now is my wonderful co-host, Mr. Anthony Hernandez. Good morning, Anthony. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing well, and you?
Yeah, doing all right. As I was telling you before the show, got a lot of paranormal stuff for the team done last night or early this morning, if you want to do it like that. But yeah, I can't imagine what any of my neighbors would have thought this morning if they would have like woken up to use the restroom or something like that and looked out their window and they would have seen me going in and out of the trailer with cameras pointed at their houses and stuff, and I'm trying to get all of them all registered and working properly. It's like, yeah.
So they never see you on the street and go, "That's the guy. That's the one." You never.
Well, I'm pretty sure that that's something they say, because I have given them lots of reasons to do so. My unfortunately, I am terrible at outdoors things. Like all things outdoors when it comes to owning a home. I work nights, so I sleep days, so I don't want to mow the lawn at 3 p.m. I have a black thumb, so the main, I guess, decoration for my yard is weeds. And it's bad. Like I come home and I'm like, oh, like, this looks terrible. Okay, I really need to do something about this. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Day done. It's one of those things that, like, once you're inside, you don't want to go back outside.
You're just water conscious, and you're all about the native plant life.
Yes. Well, the native plant life definitely loves my yard. And normally I get the weed killer, and stuff like that. But right as spring hit was when I got furloughed from UPS, and I didn't have the $100 to spend on weed killers, so my yard didn't look like a disaster zone. So it's just looked like a disaster zone.
Yeah.
But I digress. But anyway, so we have a lot to get to, and when I say a lot, we have a lot to get to. Because I mean, this isn't a new thing. But I don't think a lot of people know that it exists. Because everybody who lives in the Midwest or has even traveled to the Midwest, to Duluth or anywhere around the Great Lakes, gets told of its history, not only the maritime awesomeness of it, but the dark, tragic history of all of the shipwrecks and death that come with the Great Lakes. And it wasn't until a few years ago, because Dave and I did a show on this, which is now, littered off into eternity. But we did a show on the Michigan Triangle, the Lake Michigan Triangle, not like actual Michigan. And there are a lot of weird happenings in this area. But you were telling me before the show about how it even became like known as the Michigan Triangle.
Yeah, Jay Grawley, or Gorley, sorry. In the 1970s, he was a reporter for National Enquirer, and he started looking into the disappearances and all the weird things that were happening out there, and basically came up with the idea that he would make it like y'all's own Bermuda Triangle, because they had more known, more confirmed shipwrecks and stuff like that. So he put out a book on it and went to town, and I guess it's grown from there, because I guess before before him, there were Native American legends and stuff like that of things living in the water, and no one really talked about it. Although, just from looking at the stats and stuff, that place I would think is super dangerous to go exploring on with any sort of ship.
You know, and the funny thing is that Lake Michigan is not that deep of a lake. Like I think that like Lake Superior, whew, that's deep. That's like 3-4 miles deep at its like middle or whatever. But from what I remember, and I did not look it up or whatever, but Lake Michigan, like at its deepest, is like 80 feet or something like that. Like it's not that deep of a lake. And yet, for some reason, the Kraken lives there that's destroying all these ships. And here's my question, though, because you brought up something that I didn't know was a thing, and that is the Great Lakes Triangle.
Yes.
I don't know what that is because the Great Lakes obviously are very horizontal, and I've never heard it because the Great Lakes Triangle is different than the Lake Michigan Triangle.
Yes.
And,
So
and so,
there,
what exactly is the Great Lakes Triangle?
the Great Lakes really encompasses all of them. So there's Marysburg Vortex, which is on the Ontario side, Lake Ontario side, and then there is another triangle section in I guess the Great Lakes section of it besides the Michigan Triangle, and so they just kind of group them all together into the Great Lakes Triangle at that point. Uh, I think Canada tries to keep the Vortex thing since it's on their side, and that one is kind of a cool one because that part of the lakes was created from a meteorite that hit it, and it's still on the floor, and that's one of the places if you go through, the compasses will go haywire and spin all over the place.
So, before we get into the actual Lake Michigan Triangle, there's something that I have a beef with when it comes to triangles in general. Like in all of your research that you have done, has there ever been an explanation as to why everybody needs to make it a triangle? Like it's the Bunim Triangle, there's the Lake Michigan Triangle, there's the Alaskan Triangle, there's the Bridgewater Triangle. Like everybody, there's more triangles out there. There's a one in Japan that's a triangle.
Well, they
Everybody
say
makes
Mount
this.
Shasta's part of a triangle too, so yeah, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere, but why is it always a triangle? Why can't it be the Mount Shasta quadrilateral? Like I think that has a great ring to it. Like
And
it's always 3 points, obviously, to make the triangle, and then that's it. Like I don't understand why it's always got to be a damn triangle.
math.
Math. What?
um No, I think it's just easier to calculate between 3 points than it is to try to point out and plot from 12 or 6, or I think the 3 points gives it an easy reference.
So we're lazy.
I would probably think yes if I really dug into that question. I think that's the easiest way that they can triangulate. So I mean that's probably why they're all triangles.
I know that because Christopher Balzano been on the show many times. Love the guy to death. He did extensive research. He's even been in documentaries about the Bridgewater Triangle. Although now he lives down in Florida and doesn't really, have anything to do with it anymore. But even at one point, he was talking about how there was like a fourth point that was like just off the triangle where a lot of weird things happening. And so it would be, a Bridgewater square or rectangle or something like that. But it's not talked about because if it is, then your triangle theory goes to hell. I mean,
Well, I was going to say you have the Bermuda Triangle, which I think is what everyone really knows triangles for. And then you get like the Bridgewater Triangle. Well, it probably wouldn't go over as well if it was the Bridgewater Blob or the Bridgewater Parallelogram or some other
I
weird.
would love it if it was the Bermuda Blob. Oh my God, yes. We need to make that a thing. I love it so much. Uh, and even the Bridgewater Octagon, or some whatever. I don't care. It's just, if you're going to try to name a place as something that's out of the ordinary, like more so than normal, uh more so than normal out of the ordinary. You know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Uh Double weird. How about that? But I y- you shouldn't be like afraid to call it something other than a triangle. And I don't know if maybe it's because of the Bermuda Triangle. They're trying to cash in, I guess you could say. I mean, not a lot of people are trying to make money off naming these things, but I mean, it has some sort of recognition to it if you
It
discover
sticks.
a new triangle. Yeah, that they're trying to go off the Bermuda Triangle. So even though there could be points that would make it a hexagon or whatever, they're ignored. Or honestly, I think sometimes people like will widen it, or they'll like the one of the lines down going down from the top will like curve a little bit to include some other places, uh like a bloated triangle. There we go. Fat triangle.
Well, I would honestly think most of them are probably radiuses and not a triangle, because I'm thinking there's no hard edge to where this thing stops, and I would think it just kind of the effects kind of diminish as you go away from wherever the center is.
Well, see, yeah, and I agree with you on that one. That's what uh Christopher was talking about when these other locations that are right around, but they're outside the straight edged line. So the line kind of curves here and slants here. I mean, it looks like a slinky, a little bit instead of a triangle. Um, but so anyway, getting back to the mission, I'm sorry, that's just my beef. Like, everything has got to be a triangle, and to me, it doesn't. You just include the shit you want to include and call it whatever shape it is. You can make tons of lines. That's why we have other names for it. But the Michigan Triangle, um, which I think the tip would be Manitowoc, Wisconsin, because the other two points are Ludington, Michigan, and Benton Harbor, Michigan. So I would assume that Manitowoc, Wisconsin would be like the where the tip is. Um, but that is a triangle. Um, and as you said, like the Marysburg vortex. No,
Yes.
you said that's on. Um,
The Canadian side, it's on the Lake Ontario side. And
Canadians.
they had a gentleman write a book for them called The Gateway to Oblivion, which kind of described it as a portal or something like that because of the fields and stuff that are going crazy under there. Which, like I
So I
said,
mean,
the natives had said that there's like a cat monster thing under the water that comes up and grabs you down. So
well, if there's going to be a monster under the water, it's definitely going to be cat-like. I can't imagine anything else. Um, so is that the only reason they call it a vortex? Is because the metals and stuff are making all of our instruments go hazy, or has like weird shit actually happened there?
weird stuff's happened there, but I mean, it's kind of I encompassed them all together because it's kind of they kind of all play off of each other since they're very close to each other. I mean, like any sort of anomalous lights or any of those in actually all those bodies of water because of how they were made and their inland freshwater. Uh, like I said, they just have a mechanic to them that is not like the ocean waves. They don't roll. There's no place for the ships to outrun, get away from. That was one of the things that I saw that makes those pretty unique, is that the ocean would have like rolling waves, whereas these can hammer you from all different sides at the same time because it's like a bowl almost. So once the waves start, it kind of just ricochets back and forth.
Mm. So it's the great death traps.
That yeah, I wouldn't want to really go out there and mess with it. And plus, then you add the stuff that people have done to it and messed with it with ecologically, as far as like the native species and stuff that have been inadvertently killed and stuff like that.
Like, how so?
Well, you had it's either trout or bass that was native up there. And when they opened the ports up to the sea, that brought in the lamprey eels, and the eels
Mm.
basically killed the fish because the fish was the top of the food chain until the eels came in there. So then they had to do something to get rid of the eels. So they brought in some, I forget what other fish they brought in for that one, but they brought another fish in for that one to try to
Probably
replace the
walleye.
other fish. I, th- I think so. And then they put poison in some of the streams that were leading to the ocean because that's what could go wrong there. Well, and inadvertently, so they started controlling the eel population, and in doing so, they brought in a bunch of different mussels and stuff like that, and zebra mollusks, which filter the water, which is another. You would think it would be a positive thing because it filters the water. The water's super clear. You can see farther than you could ever before in the old days. But now that makes algae blooms, which basically kill the mid level animal life and basically don't make anything for the higher fish and stuff like that. So you have a really clean, getting to be devoid bodies of water there.
Interesting. Hmm. Well, if it ain't broken, fix it till it is.
Yep.
That seems to be. Uh,
How we
it
fix
seems to.
things. Yes.
Yes. Well, I was just saying it seems to be the American motto.
Oh, oh, they do that everywhere. I think Australia has something with frogs and rabbits, and I forget what other crazy things they did there, but they tried to fix something and brought in an invasive species, and basically it did not go well, and has turned out to be the opposite.
Well, let me rephrase. You're right. Let me rephrase. It is the human motto.
Yes, we know better than nature, and just we can fix this.
Yes. And even when we don't know better than nature, then we just fake it till it is. The whole fake it till you make it. Like we just act like we know better than nature, even though we know this is just going to blow up in our face. Um, but I digress. So I would like your because I didn't know about this one. Maybe I just because I didn't go back all that far when I was doing the original research for this topic. But I guess catalyst, maybe you could call it, for Lake Michigan, uh, is the Barque Le Griffon. Le Griffon. Did I say? Do I need to say that with a French accent? Le
Oh,
Griffon.
okay, the fur traders, which I have my own opinion on that one. I There's a lot of stories about that one, and you had six guys and a boat full of. I mean, they said it was nowadays would be millions of dollars in furs, and the basically it disappeared. And my own thoughts on this particular is that the crew decided to take the pelts and beat feet, get off and go sell them somewhere else and call it a day.
But
But
don't you
that
think
is the
some? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's just my take on that, because I mean back then, because you're talking 1679, there's no way to identify, are these the pelts you're looking for. Be like, they're just, that's essentially free money to those guys, or at least I think that would be how they saw it. On the other hand, if they were honest sailors, it could have been pirates in the area, because you did have pirates out there as well.
Pirates on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Noted. Um, my thing is though, somebody Like I get the fact that there would be no way to like trace it back to like the original shipper or whatnot, but somebody is going to ask questions as to why this ship suddenly has all of these amazing furs. Somebody's got to. There is going to ask questions as you know to why this guy who is not a rich man has these outstandingly beautiful furs and lots of them. Like I would just think they would be caught and they wouldn't not be able to just disappear even in 1679.
I I mean, I don't know because I can't
You
really,
you weren't there? Yeah, get it.
I weren't there, wasn't there. But I was going to say, I don't know how easy it would have been to fraud all that stuff and get away with it. I'm assuming the weight would have been immense. So they would have had to have, I mean, it would have required definitely a lot of work involved to get all that stuff done and a lot of moving pieces. So that is what leads most people to think that it was a mystery and where it went, why everything was. But I mean, the ship was that's the one that just disappeared. Yeah, the ship was gone, everything was gone. It's just without a trace.
And still to this day has not been found.
Correct.
So people consider it the holy grail of shipwrecks, even though
If they can find it.
I'm sure those furs are probably pretty soggy by now.
Oh yeah,
So
there's
might not be worth much.
probably nothing left if they do find it. Uh, the one that I was telling you about that I before the show that I thought was the Fitzgerald is actually the Thomas Hume. The Thomas
Thomas
Hume
Hughes.
was found in 2006, and the ship was, I mean, it's so metal ships in there. When I was reading about it, and I kind of thought about it before when they were talking how the waves and stuff hit those things cause metal fatigue big time on those ships because they're really made for oceans and not for that kind of torture that is put in there. So this is a wooden ship, sank in its entirety, no trace of the crew, and found intact in 2006 at the bottom of the lake.
Hmm. Thomas Hune, three mast
A wooden
schooner,
schooner.
a
Yeah.
lot of schooners, but 115 years. So it sank in 1891, and they finally found it in 2006.
Yep.
I'm surprised that wooden ships are able to last that long. Then again, it is in fresh water and not salt water. Like salt water would have just eroded it, and it would have been lost to the nature. But I mean, is it because that's not the only one obviously that's been just found like completely intact after decades of being in the water. So I mean,
Which
is it the
that's
fresh?
that's it's a so what keeps them preserved is the fresh water and the minerals that are in that fresh water and the cold. So it doesn't there's no heat, so it doesn't start deteriorating stuff. It doesn't cause the issues that you'd have in the salt water or you'd have in hot water that would cause bacteria growth and those things like that. So the cold water keeps it there, but the cold water is also or a reason for a lot of the deaths that happen in there because I want to say that they said you only have minutes in the water when I guess when it's cold there and you're done.
Yeah, pretty much. They say doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's 110 degrees. You go get into Lake Superior, and you're gonna freeze. Like
Yeah.
it's just always cold. Um, I'm going to say this right now, and people may call me morbid for saying so, but when I die, in order to save on cryogenics, I want you to just tie like a cinder block to my leg and just drop me to the bottom of one of the lakes because then in another 50 100 years or whatever when you can revive me, I'll be perfectly intact and I won't have to have paid a dime
Unless of
to
course
do
the
it.
aliens get you to take you away.
Well, either way I come back alive, so I'm okay. And if I'm dead and gone, well then I guess if the aliens want to use me as a piñata or stuff me and stick me in a corner, I guess I'd be okay with that. At least I'm continuing to get use out of my meat suit. Um, so I want to just talk of a couple of these that are just weird. Oh, that's Lake Superior. Boo. But I guess we can
I
talk
just
about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say combine them all. It to me, it's all. I mean, I know they're different bodies of water, but really, it's the same area when you look at it, and they're just trying to have their own triangle instead of having the same effect across all of them.
Oh, Lake Michigan, the old diva, gotta have their own
Yeah,
triangle. Um, I get that. Plus, they are all connected. Like you can
yes,
start in like Duluth and sail across Lake Superior and enter Lake Michigan and sail across Lake Michigan and uh, what is the next one? Huron,
yeah,
um,
and
uh,
Erie.
and then Erie and then Ontario. Um, spells Holmes, by the way. Didn't know if you knew that or not,
Did
but
not know
anyway.
that's
Oh,
not a thing
really?
we. No, that's not
Oh,
one thing I've heard.
that's right. You live in Texas. You don't like education.
Well,
Ah,
you say that,
sorry.
and then you tell me to you cut back on the research.
Yes, yes, I did. Anyways, but yeah, so that's how like in elementary school, and obviously we're from the area, so the Great
Yes,
Lakes would be a topic of that would actually be taught. But yeah, Holmes, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. Obviously not in the way, but that was the way to remember
remember
the
all the
the great
names.
was remember all the names was Holmes. Um, not to be confused with Sherlock Holmes, which adds an L. Anyway, so Lake Superior, we have the freighter Bannockburn. Boy, we sucked at naming shit even back then. Uh, is that correct? Bannockburn?
I'm trying to see which one you're talking about or
November
find that one.
21st, 1902. It was a steel freighter that vanished in Lake Superior. And so this is what makes this
Ah,
one obviously
yeah.
very interesting is this had like a witness, uh, a captain of a passing streamer, um, who was noting that the Bannockburn, I'm just going to assume that that's what it's called,
Looks
was
right.
bat was battling a strong headwind. He looked again moments later. So we're not talking like, they sailed 3 miles away from each other and, then turned back. Moments later, the ship was gone. No survivors, no wreckage was ever found. And here's the thing that I never heard of: the Flying Dutchman of the Lakes. Like I didn't know we had one
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
Um,
Apparently that's your version of it right there.
boy, we suck at everything. Like when it comes to naming stuff. Uh, but the Flying Dutchman of the Lakes, and that's interesting though because I would assume that this captain who's looking or waved to the ship or whatever it is as they're passing by would probably see like a humongous wave or something like that that would come and envelop the ship. So obviously he didn't.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say that's one that one that just vanished unless you like there's no HP Lovecraft connection up there, at least that I saw, which would have made it cooler. But
Not everything can be Brad Pitt. So sometimes you just got to be Ben Stiller. Just kidding. I love Ben Stiller, but but I mean that's interesting though because like I said, we're not talking about like a huge amount of time that went by from
no,
where
and it's not like they're fast moving ships. I mean, it's not like it's chugging along at 50 miles per hour, even probably for back then or anything like that. That I mean, they probably both did the horns at each other, and when he looked back, it was gone, kind of like the disappeared headlights. And when you look in the rear view,
Yeah, so that's usually just people lying. So I mean, do we think that this is, could it be that this shipping captain took command of the ship, stole all of his stuff, and then was like, "Hey, it's gone."
no,
No, you don't think so?
no, no, not on that one. I mean, that was a bigger ship, and just to be gone in a second, like, yeah, there's no. Could it have been swallowed? Well, no, because I mean, with the guy being that close, you would have thought that even if a wave had enveloped him or something like that, he would have reported that he also felt that wave or the remnants of that wave. So that's just a bizarre one that really defies explanation.
Plus, I would think, and again, I don't know how close they actually were. He obviously was close enough to be able to visually see the ship.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about it being on the horizon or whatever, but I would think you would hear it too. Like I would think if a wave came crashing up and destroyed an entire steel ship, that it would have made some sort of noise. Like this is the bear in the woods thing.
Yes.
you know, if a wave swallows a ship in the middle of the Lake Superior, does it actually make a noise?
Well, that's so the wave thing would be the big one, I think, because that's like if people are too close to a ship, if it were to go down, like the drag from the water and everything going down will pull someone under. So that would have created a wake in and of itself. Which, I mean, even if they were a visual sight, you would have thought that that would have started that ripple out to that other boat that they would have seen. They would have felt it at the very least.
Agreed. Agree wholeheartedly. Um, and I don't know. I'm not a sailor. That's something that's outdoors, so I'm terrible at it. Uh, but I mean, like fighting a strong headwind, like what would that do to?
Make you slow. It would slow the progress down. Plus the winds. So as far as like the scientific answers for stuff, like the winds are definitely something that cause the waves to
Mhm.
get out of control because they basically describe it as taking a really strong fan, filling your bathtub up, and then pushing the water to one side and then turn the fan off and see what happens with the waves because it's all going to rush back and usually at higher volume coming back towards you and just cause all sorts of chaos in that particular those bodies of water.
It was always so much fun, and this has absolutely nothing to do with this topic. But as a kid, getting into one of those above ground pools that were circular, and then you would run around the edge for like 5 minutes or whatever, and then you would try to turn around and then fight
Oh
the
yeah.
current. That was always so much fun. I don't know why I had to animate it like I was actually doing it, but I just living in the moment. But so 1921, another schooner. So
Yes.
I just want to say this right now. If anybody out there is going to get on a boat in any sort of like big lake water type area, and they're like, "This is a schooner," don't go on
Oh,
the boat. They like almost everything in here is a schooner that like tipped over or disappeared. Your chances of dying are pretty good. And let me just say
yeah.
before we get to this next one, how much you probably enjoyed seeing how many times you could put in the words high strangeness into your research. I
I didn't
did
make the name
notice.
up.
I know, but you're using it, and that's your fault. So anyway, the
I will.
schooner.
I will go. I will go. Like they do with the CIA files and redact them. So I'll just have a black line there, so you'll know what it was.
I can deal with that as long as I don't have to see it. Um, so 1921, the
Yeah.
schooner Rosabella, uh, a core high strangeness case in the Triangle legend. So it was found capsized and floating upside down in Lake Michigan. The vessel's stern was damaged, suggesting a possible collision or an attack by the Kraken or the cat like monster. So when it was towed ashore and searched, no bodies were found inside. So they waited, like they towed it all the way back to land and then searched for people.
Probably because that way they could get it to flip back right side up at that point. Because I mean, you're talking 1920s. It's not like I don't know what the divers would have looked like back then, but I'm sure they didn't have. And plus, who wants to get in that cold water? Like if they're, I don't think there was a sense of urgency, so they were like, yeah, let's make this for as comfortable for us as possible and take it back and then look.
Well, if they're in there, they're dead. So
Yeah,
we just take our time. Uh, but obviously, the crew of 11 had vanished. Like, how bad would it have been if while they're towing this in, like bodies are like flowing out the sides as they're being towed in? Like
pretty sure it
this,
would have stopped at that point.
maybe they didn't notice because they were relaxing indoors and playing cards because there was nothing to see here. Um, but you made the reference to the Mary Celeste
Yes.
in this one, and I mean, it was capsized in cold water. Bodies are going to sink. So I mean, could it not just been like they were all on the top deck or whatever, maybe thinking they were going to survive if they could just get in the water and tread, and then they all just down to the bottom?
They could have, but the thing that kills that the thing that kind of goes against that theory is that they're basically thinking it was something sudden, which is why there were no I want to say that the lifeboats and stuff were still there, everything, all those things were still there. So their odds of everyone being on deck are pretty slim. There would have been people under the top of the boat, and they wouldn't have got out. They would have found the bodies inside at that point.
I wonder if any of these uh, metallurgical type disturbances, the ones like in the vortex or whatever, causes, I don't want to say like psychosis, but like would cause people to like hallucinate or freak
Well,
out or become paranoid or that sort of thing.
see, you could answer that because do they put off EMF? I mean, are they putting off EM waves and stuff out of there? Because if they are, high EMF is going to can make you see things and be paranoid and cause those things. So, I mean, there's definitely something that could be there. I mean, it's obviously strong enough to mess with the compass.
The the thing that I don't like about this story, and not because it's like, oh, it doesn't explain anything, but like it doesn't say like what they thought damaged the boat.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I thought was, I guess, interesting about this one, because if it had a collision with another boat, there would have been another boat that showed up damaged or would have reported some sort of damage like that. Now, y'all did have pirates out there at one point in time. I'm assuming that died off pretty quick because not a lot of places to go hide and run from people that start tracking you down for doing that stuff. So I'm assuming that's why it didn't really last that long. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about a larger boat that of 11 crew. So I would have thought that there would have either been another sunk ship which would have had wreckage, or there would have been something that was reported as damaged at the docks eventually.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the ocean, obviously you can sail hundreds of miles, and pull into harbor, and nobody's the wiser. But you attack somebody in the middle of Lake Michigan, you can't pull into Chicago and think like nobody's
Yeah.
going to notice. Um, this next one, I love this one because this was part of my original research as well, and that is the disappearance of Captain George R. Donner of the O.M. McFarlane.
Yeah.
Um, so
That one
why
to
don't you
me.
why don't you take over this one?
So this one I thought was probably the coolest sounding one of all of them because to me, there is no explanation to how this could have happened. I know that there were some debunkers who tried to say that he got out and he was on top and got washed over by a wave, but the key was in the lock. The door was locked. The room was basically spotless and he disappeared. Now, there were portholes, but unless you're a tiny person, there's no earthly way that you're getting through a porthole. And he was apparently a larger gentleman. And there's just no way that they were getting out of there. So he basically had been, I want to say that this is the gentleman that was having, I guess, nerve issues going through where they were going because the compasses were going crazy at the time, and went downstairs and told them that when they got to a certain point to come let them know when they got there. And when they went to tell them, the room was still locked. They got it open and just disappeared, vanished. No traces, no letters, no nothing to say what happened to him, just gone after several hours.
Yeah. So in hindsight, because I think you skipped over the crucial part, is the captain, like you said, wanted to know when they were going to get to this place, went into his stateroom, locked
Yes.
the door from the inside, and when they went to inform him that they had reached their destination or whatever, nobody had answered the door, thinking that something bad had happened, broke the door open because it was still locked from the inside. The captain is nowhere to be found.
Yeah. And the key was in the door. So there's just I cannot possibly come up with a reasonable explanation for this scenario at all. And I think that's one of the ones that no one can really answer. Even the debunkers really stretch with that stuff because no suicide notes, no, someone would have saw him come back up. The door wouldn't have been locked with the key on the inside. It just doesn't make sense. Any of the things that they tried to do to debunk it.
And then maybe I missed this, but like they hadn't actually gotten to shore when this happened. Like they just wanted to leave that area. So it's not like
Yeah.
they had gotten to shore and he like snuck off, and joined the crowd or whatever. They're still in the middle of the lake.
Yes. There was
And he's
it was basically a point. They wanted to reach a certain point, and once they reached that mark, they were supposed to come down and let him know. And when they hit that point, they went down to tell him, and he was just gone.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's
Uh,
aliens.
Well, that's the only one that really. I mean, unless he teleported through I don't know. Yeah, the alien one was the only one that really made any sort of plausible, I guess, reason for or explanation for that.
So I'm gonna wait on this question and for this next one, because this next one is probably something a lot of people remember, at least hearing about, even though it happened in 1950. But I know that like Dave and I did research on this, that like that's how big this was, and that is the Northwest Airlines flight 2501. And airliner, a DC-4 for Northwest, which is based out of Minneapolis here, carrying 58 people, just vanishes from radar over Lake Michigan during a severe thunderstorm. Now, the pilot had asked to descend to a lower altitude and was denied. I don't know why, but whatever. So they only found, after they did a search and never obviously reached his destination, they found an oil slick, light debris like upholstery. And I don't know what fragmented human remains means. Like, are
I
they
didn't want to
finding a
get
forearm or?
no. There are some more descriptions of what they found there. Uh, I just didn't want to get real graphic with it, but basically it's and this is for most of the stuff. This is not just the human part of it. So they said they found pieces and parts of this stuff. They said that it looked like the debris and people and upholstery and plane had been chewed up and spit out. It had been ground up, is what they described it as. So that is one that, like, yes, a the storm could have aided in taking it down, but definitely was not the only thing that happened to that plane.
Because like you're almost like looking at like a Langoliers. Did I say that right?
Yes.
The Stephen King thing, the Langoliers. Um, those who were asleep got to live, and those who were awake like get ground up. But I mean, like, could it be because they were going into? I mean, did it look like anything was burned? Like it had gotten hit by lightning or something like that?
No, their basic when is basic the descriptions that they get into there is they basically say it was like it was ground. They no burns, no nothing like that. It was like it was torn apart in pieces and shredded.
Kraken.
Yeah,
Um,
cat toy.
hmm. Like I almost wonder if, and I don't know what the intensity would have to be. I'm assuming it would have to be immense. But I mean, they're flying into a thunderstorm, which has high pressure, low pressure, that all this. Like I'm wondering if they hit some pocket of such intense pressure that it just almost like what happened with the Titan going down into the see the
Oh,
Titanic
the
that imploded. Like maybe and it just got crushed like an empty beer can.
and that
And
would be a scary thing if that is even remotely possible to happen in the air. That would be crazy. But and you would think it would happen more often because I'm assuming planes fly over that area frequently.
well, true, but
The perfect
most
storm.
I mean, this is 1950, so obviously airliners have gotten way better. Like
Yeah.
I know airliners now, like they're designed to absorb lightning strikes. They're obviously made with much better materials. Not to mention, they can fly so much higher. Like they fly over storms now.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, we obviously have evolved with our technology and stuff since then. Not to mention, uh, we know about storms so much ahead of time that if it's that intense and they can't fly over it or something like that, then they do plan it around.
Yes.
To go around the storm. Uh, and maybe this is why I don't know, but that what interests me here in all of these disappearances, especially like the Bannockburn, uh, the Captain Donner, like all these people that just like disappeared with like no trace whatsoever.
Yeah. That's the
Like, but I mean, here's my question to you. And I want to see if you think it's plausible enough because I've had this theory in my head just in general for like a long time now, and that is like there are interdimensional doorways that move, like they just suddenly appear. And if you happen to be in the wrong place when like these things happen, you go right through it. It's not like it's not like quantum leap where like a big door of light suddenly appears. Like you just sail, and then for this reality, you're just gone into some other dimension. I mean,
yeah.
do you think it's possible that with the rotation of the Earth and all of these metals and the meteorite and all this other stuff that's going on and all these metallurgical anomalies that at random times and random places doorways to other dimensions open?
I do think there's probably a some sort of recipe there that gets that stuff to happen. I mean, you talk about the triangles and you start talking about Shasta, you start talking about Skinwalker Ranch, Alaska Triangle, Bermuda Triangle, and there's all these
That's right.
stories.
Even they have to have triangles.
Yeah.
Skinwalker Inn has the triangle.
Yeah.
Oak Island has the triangle. The
Yes.
triangle swamp. Like everybody's got to have a damn triangle. Poor squares. That's all I'm saying. Poor
The
other
square.
shapes. Where's the circle? That's what I want to see. Where's the Japanese circle or
Now,
the
I think you
Dubai
do have a.
circle?
I think you have. I forget where it's at, but the Devil's Circle or something like that. Some place up by y'all where there's nothing that grows in a circle.
Oh, I think that's a triangle too.
Oh, it is okay. Yeah, I was reaching for
Probably,
that one.
probably. It's not a circle. Uh, but yeah, I think that's a devil's triangle too.
Okay,
Whatever.
but yeah,
Yeah.
so you have those things. A lot of what I think a lot of what those places have in common, like Skinwalker, like they know there's a meteorite possibly down there now. So Mount Shasta has just got weird volcanic. I want to say the volcanic rock or something that's there causes the magnetic anomalies and stuff like that. And you have people that have talked about portals and doors and seeing things like pictures in the sky. So basically, from what I take is what they're describing is they're seeing a portal open up and they're seeing what's beyond that portal and they're seeing what looks like a picture. I think Bradshaw Ranch even has talked about looking out the kitchen window and seeing what they thought was a picture of some other place because it was a portal that opened and let them see into another place.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I definitely I definitely think you could you could say that that stuff probably happens, and that would go along with the theory of alternate dimensions and stuff like that. And you even have stories. I can't think of what they call them right now, but in when you go to a place and all of a sudden you walk into it, and they talk about in England and stuff like that. They've walked into bookshops that are no longer there. We're back from historic times. They leave and then they go back to find it, only to find out that this place hasn't existed in like hundreds of years. But they were in there the day before and walked around and talked to someone and were lucky enough to leave because I'm assuming if you don't do that timing just right, you're just a disappeared person at that point.
Could you imagine walking into an old bookstore and like search around, and when you leave, you're like in 1940 England or something like that? It's really,
I would be bummed I didn't take a souvenir or something.
well, I mean,
It's
you're in
like,
1940, so that you're going to have your phone on you,
yeah,
or but the bookstore is going to exist because you went back, obviously, in time. Anyway, we're getting off topic here.
yes, yeah.
Um,
But yes, I do think there could be some sort of dimension thing happening. Obviously, with short of the alien thing, that one captain is definitely something happened, something opened, because you don't just disappear like that for no reason.
so, um, there we go.
The planes,
1990. The what?
I was going to say the planes also we didn't really talk about, but they were also reported red lights hovering over the lake at the time of the accident and the disappearance,
Of
which is they
the Northwest flight?
yes, which they kind of hint at possible alien type activity back then.
Ah, yes. Fuels the ufological narrative. Because I was actually just going to go forward to 1994 with the Lake Michigan multi-sensor UAP event. Excuse me.
Oh yeah.
What's it
So that
about,
was
Anthony? 1994, March 8th.
a solid metallic object spotted off of Lake Michigan on the eastern shore. Um, and this one has radar confirmations from the National Weather Service. And let's see. Oh, that's the one that had hundreds of witnesses and hundreds of reports and police officers. And yeah, another event that like, how do you deny that there's not something else going on here?
See, here's as I was reading this, and they were over several hours, hundreds of citizens, including numerous police officers, reported seeing multiple cylindrical or spherical objects, not triangles, performing impossible maneuvers. And we see this all the time. You know
Yep.
that they're you know that's the whole thing with the tic tac. They're doing all these impossible maneuvers. here's my, and it has nothing to do with the lakes. I'm sorry, but it gets brought up because obviously they were doing this stuff over the lakes,
Well, yeah.
and they're a part of the lore now. What is the point of doing these things when everybody can see you? Like if the point is to not show yourselves, to hide, to observe, whatever, why are they doing so much shit out where people can see them?
I don't think they're trying to hide necessarily, because I don't think, I mean, that last video that they put out from the hearing with they got so much controversy and so much talked about with them firing that hellfire, that thing, it, if that is what it is and it is represented correctly, it bounced off and just the UAP kept going. So, I mean, I don't really think they're afraid of us as far as that goes, or they, I guess they're not intimidated by what we can do, at least not with conventional weapons.
Well, right. I get
Um,
I get that. I mean, I'm not saying they're doing these things as like an intimidation type thing, but I mean, if they wanted us to know who they were, they would have landed and been like, "Hey, here we are." But instead,
yeah,
they
that's
don't, and they're. I don't understand what the point is. Either you're here and we should know about it, or you're not and we don't.
I'm
And
thinking, at least in my opinion, I think it's kind of for whatever reason, a slow walk here to make everyone. I mean, because there's like a vast majority that don't want to acknowledge it. Like you have politicians and you have people and you have military that have come outright and said, "Yes, we've seen these things. No, we don't know what they are." And you still have people that are like, "I don't really believe." Like
I,
literally, you have Congress talking about this.
the reason why I chuckled when you said that is uh, there's a scene in The Big Bang Theory where Amy is asking Sheldon all these questions. He's like, I sense that you're trying to slow walk me to an epiphany. He's like, so why don't you just jump right to it? And uh, that's what that reminded me. I was like, you're trying to slow walk us, and like just come out and do it. I'm like, I
Yeah.
think people will be able to. It'll take some time for some people, but we'll be able to adjust. This slow walking shit is dumb.
Yes, and it's I think that if that is the reason why, there's a couple of different things, and I think the one of the bigger ones is they don't want the mass panic, because I do think a lot of people. I mean, most of us who follow this stuff, it would be like, yeah, okay, finally you acknowledge it. Let's move on, go to the next thing, and go from here. Where does this leave us, and where do we go from here? I do think there's a lot of people who it would destroy their world or what they thought their world was. And so I kind of think that might be part of it.
What constitutes mass panic? I mean, my God, you raise gas prices 10 cents and you have a mass panic. I
I
mean,
think
that's just in this country.
I think they're worried about the suicide or deaths and what I mean, you see it in a lot of different genre movies even, where okay, the one person's going to rise up and try to fight this thing, or these people are going to rise up and decide to off themselves, and these are going to try to do their own thing and get away from everyone. And I just think that's kind of what they're trying to avoid.
Well, I'm going to say this right now, and it's my idea, so nobody takes it. But if aliens ever land, I am immediately buying stock in Kool-Aid. So my idea, can't take it. Be instant. I'll be the only millionaire left in our new alien overlords uh, reign of supremacy.
The one where gas doesn't matter anymore and energy's free, and yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Actually,
I mean,
I think
and that would be another point. So all the people that make money off of I mean, and I don't think it would kill petroleum products outright, which I've heard like a lot of people say, well, there's people who are they just wouldn't be as rich, but you still need plastics and stuff for everything else that we have. I don't think there's anything that any of us have that aren't petroleum based in some way, shape, or form. You just wouldn't use it to drive around and do stuff like that with.
I guess you wouldn't need it for your boat that you're going to
Correct.
take on to Lake Michigan and then disappear. You know,
Of course, maybe
honestly, uh, go ahead.
I was going to say, of course, you'd probably have a better means of transportation where you wouldn't have to go across that lake at that point, hopefully.
You have a jetpack, but crap. I had a point that I was going to make, and now I can't. Screwed it up for me, Anthony.
All right.
It's all right. It happens. Oh, I understand now. So, like, the Great Lakes are like probably like under defined by just the Great Lakes. Like these things are huge. They're considered,
Yeah.
pretty much just as big as any sea, that's out there. Obviously, Lake Superior is deep as shit. Like I said, Lake Michigan, not so much. But uh, why do you think it is that nobody ever like talks about like underground alien bases in the lakes?
They do. They
Do
do
they?
talk about, well, yeah. I
I've
mean,
never
they
heard
talk about
anything.
it. So, like down in Colares and stuff like that, there's talks that the aliens, that ships and stuff come out of the water all the time.
Where?
So, in down in South America.
I'm talking about the Great
So
Lakes.
I know, but I'm just saying, water. Like you're talking water bases, so sea and deep water bases. There's talk of that stuff being there, and
Well, good for South America. What about the Great Lakes?
to me, it would make perfect sense that there would be something there because we probably don't even know. We probably don't haven't even have a map for everything down there. That generally tends to be why I think they choose those places because we don't go there. We just throw trash there.
Oh, yes. And on that note, so I mean, final question. People throw out the triangle, as we've talked about many times in just this last hour. They throw out the title of triangle all over the place, every place, any place they want to I don't know, bring focus on. They call it some sort of triangle of quote unquote high strangeness. So here's my question. We're talking about a naturally dangerous area.
Yes.
And with everything that's naturally occurring. Like you can have a shipwreck and nobody's going to bat an eye as to why it happened. So do you believe, and obviously everywhere has got, I'm sure I could probably come up with a Minnesota triangle if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Obviously there's some weird shit that has happened on the lakes, as does everywhere. So do you think that calling this the Lake Michigan Triangle, the Great Lakes Triangle, do you think that's an overhype? Or do you think that there's something to it?
No, I think there's something to it. I mean, it definitely is a dangerous place, um, all by itself. And then there's some truly bizarre things that happen there that, to me, you can't explain. So yeah, there's probably the bad part about this is there's probably even more that we don't know about that have happened there because they're gone and there's no trace. So there's an estimate. It's estimated all the way from 6,000 to 25,000 wrecks between all of those lakes. So that is, I mean,
And
yeah,
and 30,000 people.
yeah, that is a lot of lives and a lot of vehicles gone. So yeah, you just there's something weird happening there besides the danger of the area because at least at first, it would have been the designs of the ships that were made for seagoing vessels and not for that particular body of water. But over time, that would have should have been adapted to and stuff like that, and they would have stopped cutting corners and things like that. So a lot of those things would have diminished, and they really haven't.
Possible. I don't know. I mean, as we were talking about earlier, I don't think the triangle is probably the best shape
Description,
to
yeah,
yeah, the shape to use. Honestly, it's all if it's in a geographical area, it probably is more of a blob
yes.
than anything. Seriously, people, the Bermuda
Mm.
blob, get on it. Like I want to see the hashtags. It's time to rebrand, but and I want credit for it too, even though it was kind of your idea. But anyways, uh, yeah, I definitely think that there can be things going on out there. For whatever reason, I don't know. I know that's why it continues to be paranormal and not science.
Yep.
But I'm serious though. If somebody tells you that this is a schooner that you're about to get on, don't get on it because you're
No.
probably going to die or just disappear into another dimension.
Actually, I
Um,
would rethink anybody going onto that into those waters if they didn't have to, but that's just me.
I would only go on Lake Superior during the day. Like if anybody was like, "Hey, let's go on a night cruise," no, no, I won't. Not until I update my will. Uh, you know, in the event that I do not return, all of my paranormal gear goes to my team, and all of my furniture. I don't know. You give it to somebody else. I don't know. Whoever needs it. um, but yeah, I digress. So yeah, Anthony and I will be back next week. That does it for us for this time. Unless you have anything else that you would like to add.
No, I think that pretty well covered everything for as far as that goes.
um, it should be noted, based on the pages and pages of research that you did, uh, that yes, there's a lot of wrecks that have happened that we've talked about, like upwards of 25,000 and 30,000 people who have died in these lakes. Obviously, that is over a couple hundred years. But like any airline, there's people are on these lakes all
Daily.
day all day every day, hundreds, thousands. And so even though yes, this is a lot of catastrophe and tragedy that has happened, it's still a small percentage. So I mean
Yeah.
there are even a lot of wrecks that have natural explanations to them that are not paranormal in any way, shape, or form. So keep that in mind when if you choose to look up these triangles yourself. Uh, there is a lot of information out there on them. Anthony and I can attest to that. But yeah, Anthony, I'll be back next week. Another new episode. We're thinking the Lady in White, the legend of the Lady in White. So yeah, that should be an interesting conversation because
I think so.
apparently you have got it narrowed down to three reasons as to why there would be a Lady in White, and I'm looking to poke holes in all of them.
Oh yeah. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll get a kick out of it.
I will. I always do. So uh, if there's anything that being on the show and just being an investigator has taught me, it's that history and reasons and claims and stories and legend are almost always either skewed or just false.
This
Uh,
is true.
so,
There's yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I I enjoy the stories. I really do. So, but as I am a truth teller, according to Cena, I need the truth.
You,
I
you
need
should
honesty.
uh you should check out Lowland. Ethan Hawke is in that show, and he calls himself a true historian.
A true historian.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Not bad. Not bad. Um, I'm not good with history. So, I could be. I could be, but I'm not. I don't know why my voice is suddenly going through puberty, but it is. Um, but anyway, we'll be back. So until then, stay healthy, stay safe. We want to see you back here. Everyone have a great rest of the weekend.